Hello everyone, welcome to the most common mistakes that intermediate players make. Today we are dealing with a very common mistake, and that is that you do not see the threats of your opponent. Why is this such a common mistake? Well, I believe that it's very natural for people to see positions from their own side, looking for their own possibilities, to see their own threats and so on, but to have another perspective of another person, your opponent, that does not come natural. Another thing that is a problem is that when we practice and train chess, normally we always see the position from the winner's side. I mean, when you are solving chess problems, you want to see the position from the winner's side. When you look through a game, you also want to see the position from the winner's side. This comes natural to us. And I guess you can already guess now that I will recommend you at least sometimes to solve chess problems from the loser's side and to look at games from the loser's side. But let's take a look at some typical mistakes that people do. Here we have an interesting position, very sharp. You can see that Black has got some nice threats against the white king with the bishop on c5, the knight here, and so on. But it is white to play, and of course white has got a very nice move in bishop to h5, and white played this instantly. The problem is that black had a very good move, and that was to take on f2. Okay, one of the problems for white now is that if white goes for the natural to take on g6 like this, after take on d1, take on e8, black has got the nice move rook take f1, king take f1, and then it's a check on e3. And after king e2, take on e8, black has got a winning position. Okay, there are some small tactics left, like after b4, then bishop h5, like this, and now after bishop b6, black is winning. But still, so this is a critical line, but still it's all forced. So after knight to take f2, well, white tried to play rook to take on f2, and I guess that the move that he had missed was queen e4, and now you can see it's a nice pin on e3. So after knight g4, rook take, knight take, rook f8, now the knight on f2 will fall, and black will be winning because it's a mating attack, and also is ahead when it comes to material. So if we go back to the initial position, if white would have taken black's perspective and see all of those threats, I think the very natural move is to play bishop to d4. Because the bishop on c5, that is the star of the position. And after bishop to d4, okay, still after bishop take on d4, queen take, c5, queen d1, d4, black is slightly better. I mean, one variation I can give you is like this, take, knight g2, knight d2. Black will win back the rook for a knight, and after f4, we have a position. Black is slightly better, but white has got good chances to survive. So this would be the right way to play. And again, with the right perspective, I think that white would have found this solution, but forgot about the opponent's threats. Okay, sometimes it is very difficult, of course, to see also, this kind of unique moves when you play yourself. So how difficult isn't it when you are facing an opponent and his threats? But we take a look at also on highest level Ratsovayev against Koprechik, a game that amazed me actually, because after c4, e5, we have a classical position after d4. e4 came, and now I think that the best move maybe is knight to d2, something like this. And the reason for that is that if you take on d4, white has got the nice knight take e4, and the knight on d4 is hanging. But instead, white played bishop g5. And this is a little bit dangerous because the bishop goes out early, and maybe he has to swap it off for the knight because of the knight f6. Now, for example, if you go back, still knight d2 is probably the best move in this position, but then maybe h6 or something like that, and black will be absolutely okay. Not a problem for white, but still. So white had another idea in mind, and that was to play d5, and he had foresee a line, a critical long line of calculation. And this is also the type of situations where many people will miss the opponent's threats because you are so into your own possibilities when it comes to calculation. So this is for sure something to practice on. Because the idea was to, after take on f3, take on c6, take on g2. I mean, now you cannot take on b7, of course, because then will be queen on h1. But c take d7, you know, and then after, for example, bishop take back on g2, c6, queen b3, and we have a very interesting position where white has got all chances to get, maybe to get a slight advantage. But after c take d7, here comes the shocker. Black played knight take d7, a fantastic move, putting the queen on prize, but the pawn on g2 is threatened to take on h1. And suddenly it's just game over, because if you take on g2, the bishop on g5 is hanging. What happened was take on d8, take on h1 like this, and take on c7. And if we calculate, black is actually a full rook up, so it's just a question of time. This was the game. I just make it very quickly here, because in this position, now it was time for white to give up. So let's make a little bit of a summary of what we have discussed. Well, and of course, how to avoid it, because that is the idea of this kind of movies, of course, that you will learn something. So first of all, this is a common mistake. So please take this seriously to learn how to see your opponent's threats. And there are different ways to practice and to avoid it. First of all, start in your training to solve problems and analyze games from the loser's side. When you're playing yourself, when it's not your turn, you can actually sneak around and look at the position from your opponent's side. This might be a way to foresee what is about to come when it comes to your opponent's threats. Then, of course, you can also use the same guidelines. When you try to find your moves, you can also use these kind of questions like loose pieces drop off, or what kind of tactical themes might be possible in the position, and so on. You can use the same for your opponent when it is your opponent's turn to play, or even before that, of course, you should do it. Let's finally sit on your hands. This is something I have said before. Do not get into the impulse or make your move like, you know, make the final check just to see that you have not missed anything. And with that, good luck and bye.